Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, October 13th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect mostly sunny skies and a high of 89 degrees in San Antonio today. Fall weather is coming to San Antonio as two cold fronts push their way through the city this week. The second one will bring a 20-degree drop. In just 2 weeks, Texas added more than 284,000 more voters to its rolls just before the registration deadline and now has a record-setting 16.9 million voters headed into the first day of early voting today. San Antonio voters will be confronted with 3 big ballot propositions with the potential to have a major impact on this city's future. Keep Pre-K for SA is widely regarded as the proposition effort most likely to succeed. On this week's episode of the Puro Politics podcast, host Gilbert Garcia gives us an early voting preview. You can find a link to that podcast in this episode's description. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. In battles from Austin to San Antonio to Houston, candidates are insisting they are committed to tackling the high price of prescription drugs, while they claim their opponents can't be trusted on the issue. Polls explain why drug costs are getting so much attention. Almost 80% of Americans believe drug costs are too high, according to polling from the nonpartisan Kaiser Family Foundation. The debate and the Democratic attacks revolve around 2 bills in Congress. Jeremy Wallace explores the issue in greater detail in his latest article that you can find at this episode's description. Bexar County has seen an explosion in voter registration and returned mail-in ballots, with close to 3.5% of ballots already cast before early voting begins Tuesday. This sort of feels like the calm before the storm. Tomorrow, we're expecting a nice turnout. We always have a group of people who want to vote that first day, Elections Administrator Jacques Callen said in a news conference at Election Department headquarters on Monday. Already, the Elections Office has received more mail-in ballots in-house, around 41,000, than the entire total mail ballots it received for the last presidential election in 2016. Officials have been bracing for a record turnout of 60% or higher, and the numbers so far support that trend, Callen said. Scott Huddleston takes a closer look inside the activity at the Elections Office in his latest article. San Antonian Daniel Ramos' award-winning independent film, The Margarita Man, is the culmination of more than 30 years of toiling in the entertainment field and a pursuit that started on the southeast side of town. In 2019, the film won the Gold Award for Best Picture and Comedy Feature Film at the Hollywood Independent Filmmaker Awards and Festival and winner at the Accolade Global Film Competition and IndieFest Film Awards. The film is currently streaming on Amazon Prime, Spectrum, and Fandango now. Family and friends pitched in financially and worked behind the scenes to help Ramos' dream project come true. His parents, Esther Ramos and Raul Ramos, and brother Raul Ramos Jr. were among the producers on the film. You can get to know the filmmaker in this week's edition of San Antonio Stories. Our Lady of the Lake University is a polling site for the first time. That's fitting, given its pivotal role in Latino civil rights, columnist Elena Ayala writes. Longtime activist Rosie Castro reflected on that history on Monday. She is the mother of former Mayor Julian Castro, who served as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development in the Obama administration, and U.S. Rep. Joaquin Castro. Rosie Castro is an OLLU graduate. She arrived on campus in 1965, intending to become a teacher, but she got an education in politics too. Read more about her story and OLLU's legacy of voter activism in Ayala's latest column. October 13th is the first day of early voting in Texas. Check out our interactive map of early voting locations in Bexar County and visit our 2020 Voters Guide for more information about voting, the candidates, and ballot measures. You can find links to all of these guides in this episode's description. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Also, be sure to check out other Express News podcasts such as Puro Politics, In Depth, and the Express News editorial board. You can find links to those podcasts in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. San Antonio's coronavirus positivity rate has increased nearly 1 percentage point since last week, but officials reported no new deaths from COVID-19 on Monday. USAA said Monday that it will donate $50 million over the next 3 years to organizations combating racial inequality in education, employment, and business development in low-income military enclaves and communities of color in San Antonio and across the country. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's criminal trial has been stalled for years as he and his allies argue in court that a $300 hourly rate is too much for special prosecutors pressing felony charges against him. Yet, $300 an hour is the same rate Paxton paid to the special prosecutor he appointed to delve deeper into a complaint from his friend and donor, Nate Paul. A San Antonio man is awaiting transfer to prison after he was sentenced to 12 years for dousing his pregnant girlfriend with alcohol and setting her on fire in 2019. During a Get Out the Vote conference with former Democratic Rep. Beto O'Rourke on Monday night, Oprah Winfrey told nearly 2,000 phone banking volunteers that she knows how it feels when people hang up on you. Early voting has arrived, and we're providing a full list of our editorial board recommendations for the general election. Whether or not you agree with the recommendations, we hope they inspire you to vote. Following up on a major archaeological find in a critical section of the San Pedro Creek Culture Park project, San Antonio River Authority staff said they'll launch a public comment process asking people whether the entire foundation of the historic St. James African Methodist Episcopal Church should be preserved. A letter released late Sunday by the attorney for Austin real estate investor Nate Paul appears to be laying the foundation for a lawsuit against Texas AG Ken Paxton's office. A shopping center that was once home to Dance Hall Midnight Rodeo and is owned by an affiliate of World Class Holdings, a company founded by Nate Paul, may be headed for foreclosure next month. Texas Senator John Cornyn was a major target for Senate Democrats on Monday as they worked to frame the first confirmation hearing for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett around health care. Texas is failing to ensure that infants and toddlers with developmental delays have access to early therapy and has 3 months to figure out how to fix it, according to a report from federal education officials. The Biden campaign announced that Dr. Jill Biden will make 3 stops in Texas today, starting with stops in El Paso and Dallas before getting to Houston. No airline is unscarred by the coronavirus pandemic, but American has the biggest debt among major airlines, owing about $40 billion to creditors. The airline has about $10 billion cash on hand, but when it's losing around $35 million per day, the money won't last forever. While Southwest is also losing money during the pandemic, analysts say it's less dependent on business travelers for its revenue than American, Delta, and United. At least one analyst says Southwest would be in the best position to swoop in and acquire American. Randy Diamond examines what such a deal would mean for the U.S. airline industry in this week's Wary Traveler. You can get a gourmet meal in about 10 minutes by grilling salmon on cedar planks. This week in Chuck's Food Shack, he'll show you how. Among the selling points for Art Heist, a brand new interactive performance and downtown walking tour, is that it's based on a true crime that remains an open case with an unclaimed $10 million reward. Art Heist will make its U.S. debut this weekend in San Antonio. Kids can make their own rubber band banjo in this activity adapted from a Beyond the Briscoe craft lesson. The toy instrument might inspire a few jam sessions. Brandeis and Poth are both on top of their classes in our high school football rankings. Brandeis lost the top spot to O'Connor in our volleyball rankings. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Tuesday, October 13th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.